Alright, hey guys, me again, you know who I am, and today I'm here to cover our third episode in our walkthrough, and we're going to be covering a lot of ground in this episode because we're actually going from Mars all the way to Uranus and finishing the Numta quest, because in this stage of the game, a lot of the game becomes the same. So basically you go to a planet, you do your missions to the boss, then you go to the junction, you do your challenges, and then you get out of the planet basically, and you fight the boss, fight the junction boss, and then you rinse and repeat for a while. And there's not a whole lot of noteworthy things. However, I'm gonna cover the things that are noteworthy here. And this is actually the first like scripted video I've done in a really long time, where I have like a notepad that's like really long. So let's get started. So first we're going to talk about void relics. So in a normal mission, it's basically like void fisher missions are the normal mission. You know, like if you're running if it's on a capture node, it's still going to be like a capture node. However, the enemy level is going to be higher and corrupted enemies will spawn in. And what you do is you kill the corrupted enemies to gain reactant. Once you earn 10 reactant, you basically have access to your primed item or your forma or some from your relic and stuff like that. Now, upon getting all 10 reactant, you gain a small buff to like one of your weapons or your Warframe. So like on your primary or secondary, you gain like infinite ammo. Your melee weapon, you get like attack speed and range, I believe, or it's like range and damage, something like that. And then on your Warframe, you get a little bit of duration and range with a tiny bit of power strength in there. The buffs aren't too crazy on the Warframe and the melee weapon. However, they are amazing on primary and secondary weapons. Especially if something that has like low ammo or a beam weapon that fires infinitely for about 90 seconds. That's good. Alright, Arcwing quests. Okay, so in the first mission where it tells you to find the cache, Lotus tells you where it is. Don't worry about finding it on your own. At the end of the very end of the mission, Lotus will tell you where this is. So don't worry about that. And despite it saying there are 3 caches, there are actually only 1. So again, don't worry about finding the other 2. You only need 1 for that one mission. In this quest, you'll also encounter the Lynx boss for the first time. And the only way to take him down is to shoot his shield drones. And once his shield drones are down, you can actually damage him normally. Otherwise, once his shield drones are up, his shield makes him completely immune to damage. You definitely want to burst those shield drones down quickly and then damage Lynx as much as you can. Before the final part of the quest, have some scanners ready. So if you're like the collector guy, once you go into the final mission of the Arcwing quest, there are some arcane boilers in there. You can only scan these guys in the quest, and the quest is not repeatable. So if you're the kind of guy who likes to collect things for your codex or reading stuff about the lore or whatever, then this is the only place you can scan these arcane boilers. So I think everyone should have some scanners ready on this part. Now you may notice that I have a cyst on my character. And what that cyst does is once it's fully grown, I can put that on a Kubro egg and give me like probably the best damaging Kubro in the game. Although not the best Kubro in the game. It has high amount of damage and decent amount of health with some interesting abilities. But you'd probably be better off removing this since Sentinels are better. But the way you get this is you get infected by another player, and on turn I got infected by another player. Alright, so on Mars we have Lich Krill, the boss. He is what I call an IFTTT boss, or if this then that. So he is immune to damage. However, if you shoot the little orange spot on his back, you gotta shoot that until his tubes pop out. And they like sort of go crazy. And basically the idea is like the next time you use a freeze attack, it will freeze him instead of you. So that is very good. Basically you rinse and repeat that over and over and over until he hits stage 2. And in stage 2 he switches elements from ice to fire, and he can be damaged normally. So basically in stage 2 you just kill him normally. Alright, so at the Phobos Junction you have to fight the Mag boss. And Mag doesn't have a whole lot of health. She has high shields, however, so you should probably use magnetic or toxin damage against you. However, she can sort of like she's probably going to CC you a lot if you don't stun her, so it's probably a good idea to have her just stun her. Otherwise, she'll use her crush, and that'll do quite a bit of damage, so stay away from that. On Phobos, there is the boss called the Sergeant. He's the easiest boss in the game. He only has one ability, that's Smokescreen, and he has about as much health as a capture target, so he's going to be very, very easy to take down. He is coming in with like a rework soon, however, that's not been implemented yet, so he's super easy. He also doesn't have an intro cinematic. After that, we go to the junction, we fight the Trinity boss on that junction. And she's a support frame, so naturally she's going to be kind of annoying to fight. She can give herself energy when she hits you with that blue pulsing attack, so stay far away from her when she does that. And if she gets enough energy, she's gonna full heal herself and just do rinse and repeat. And so use stuns and long range attacks on Trinity in order to beat her. Alright, in this stage of the game, now is a good time to complete Tesha because you need that for another junction. In this case, it's going to be, I believe, the Europa junction. But other than that, now that we head on to series, you're really not going to really struggle with any of these challenges. The only thing that you might struggle with is, like, what are prosecutors? And prosecutors are a special type of guardmen. They're slightly bigger, and they give a large damage reduction to one element in particular. So there's shock prosecutors that give a large damage resistance to electricity, toxic. There's fire, and there's cold, so on and so forth. Don't worry about finding them too much, as they'll basically find you once you set off the alarms. So in that very first mission on series, just as long as you set off the alarms, you'll probably encounter one or even two, like I did. And they drop Javlok capacitors, which can be used to craft the Javlok later on. But the Javlok is kind of garbage, so don't bother. It is also a bad idea to melee them, as they can parry you, which will stun you and deal basically your own damage back to you, but in a lower portion. Unlike another enemy that you'll encounter later on that can deal like full damage back to you if you melee them. Also, since it's been like almost a month since I made the previous video, I've gotten a few statues from Maru, like a few resets from her. So I decided to max those out, and I cracked open one just for some endo. But I'm probably going to sell the rest for platinum and buy some of those augments that I was talking about in the first episode. Once we get here to series, the boss on series is Lich Krill and Captain Vor. Nothing has changed about either of these two bosses. It's just that they're together now. Easiest way to beat them is to kill Vor first, because he has like pretty low health, and he's not mechanically challenging, and he's not an if this then that boss. Alright, so for the Jupiter Junction boss, we have Valkyr. Now, Valkyr has a bunch of interesting attacks, and she can sort of ignore stuns with her first ability, because if you magnetize her as mag, she's still able to pull you around and absolutely CC the ever-living shit out of you. So it's not even safe to engage her even at medium range. So you're probably going to want to stay at the start and just kind of sort of poke away at her while stunning her at the same time. Otherwise, she's just going to pull you into her effective range, and she's going to like ground pound you. And if she gets on low health, what she's going to do is then use her fourth ability, which is Hysteria, and that makes her completely invincible. And you sort of have to wait that out or die, one of the two. Other than that, she has a very large amount of armor, but she has a super low amount of shields. So what you can do is basically strip her armor, and she has technically no defenses other than her fourth ability. But yeah, you can burst her down once her armor is gone with, say, mag. So use Polarize a bunch on her. Would be pretty good. Or just burst her down as fast as you possibly can. One of the two will work. Okay. So you're probably wondering, what are Spectres and how do I get them? Well, actually, you should already have Spectres, because your Spectres are gained from completing rescue missions in the game. And you should already have a ton of these. Now, Spectre is basically, the guy who you saved in the rescue mission. Basically, they got your back, and they'll fight with you as long as you have these in your gear slot. And you can give them a loadout, and their level scales with the enemy if you're in an endless mission like a survival. So if you're going for a crazy 8-hour survivals, their level is going to go up and up and up, just like the enemy's level. All right, once you hit the junction, you'll fight the Nova boss. So, the first thing you need to know about this boss is avoid her first attack at all costs. Do not get hit by that slow-moving wave that she uses, which is called Molecular Prime. And what it does is it slows you down for quite a while, actually. Longer than about a cold proc, and which is like, what, 8 seconds? I think that's it slows you down for quite a while, and you also take double damage if you're hit by this attack. So you do not want to get caught in that at all. You just like Trinity, use long range attacks and stuns to kill her. Don't even bother. Now would be a good time to like gear up, increase, like get new weapons, new mods, and maybe your second frame if you are in the game for that. If you like your starter frame, that's fine, but I took this time to build the Volcar and Ash, as well as trade to get the Furus augment that allows it to give it lifesteal and the purity effect. Now Ash took me a while. There's a special way I farmed Ash to get him at a very low mastery, so I have a video about that in the description. Also, I've had some people actually help me to speed the process up, just so I can get this video out a lot faster, because it's been like a month and I've been like collecting footage for that long. So yeah, like my RNG kind of sucked on him, but your RNG will probably be better than mine. Even though in the end he just dropped the last part I needed on kill instead of using one of our RNG double rolling abilities like Necros' Desecrate or Avara's Prowl, which is kind of funny, but oh well. Now would be also a good time to complete the Man a Few Words quest. Alright, if you're not going for Ash as your second frame, just complete it as normal. Other than that, you farm it the way I show you in the video in the description on how to get Ash at Master Rank 2. After completion, you'll receive an Exilus adapter, and that will be used to unlock the Exilus slot. You know, the slot with the locked icon, and you can put Exilus mods in there, which are basically like there's like mods that are like cool, but they're on the side, like parkour mods that increase like your speed or your parkour velocity. Now we get to Raptor. Raptor is there's 3 different Raptors in this boss fight, and Raptor does a very high amount of damage, and his shields regen very, very fast. So it's probably not a good idea to actually beat this boss solo if you still have, say, your starter frame. I think none of them are actually well equipped to handle Raptor at this stage of the game right now. Mag is okay against Raptor, but the problem is that we don't have weapons that can take him down like almost immediately, like later in the game. So best to do this in a group or find someone in the recruiting chat, because you often find that you don't do enough damage to him. Now, if you pick Ash as your second frame, he can solo this boss actually, and fairly well. Well, that is if he doesn't get hit, but he needs to use his Blade Storm in order to basically make them bleed to death, and that does a crap ton of damage to them. But it also takes a lot of energy. So, alright, so Raptor really doesn't have any interesting mechanics. I mean, he has 3 different versions of himself that do slightly different attacks. But all you need to do is once you defeat him, he drops a battery cell, pick it up, and you need to drop it into the assembly line where he spawns in. If you don't do that within a certain amount of time, within like, what, 8 seconds or so, the bomb will explode and Raptor will just respawn. And you'll have to do it over and over again until you get it right. Also, the bomb can kill you, so do be aware of how long you've left the bomb on the ground, because you can just pick it up and it will explode in your face and you'll instantly die. Now we get to the new Strange Quest. So, in the new Strange Quest, you're introduced to Samaris. And Samaris is the guy where you could practice mastery tests. You know, the simulacrum is in his office area or whatever. During the quest, after you meet him, you want to go ahead and take the synthesis simulation / tutorial, and this will teach you how to synthesize targets with the gear he's given you, and with the synthesization kit that he gives you. Now you need to equip these before the next mission, but you're gonna immediately do this after you finish this tutorial real fast. Don't worry about tracking the target too much with the scanner, because oftentimes you'll just bump into him on your way to extraction or on your way to the objective. Which is often, well, it happens a lot. However, it's still faster just to track him, to just get him like done and over with. But it's not too hard to find. And he's not very hidden either, and he sort of just runs around the map as well. So there's that. Now, while a lot of the dialogue is going on, just be sure to craft the requested items. Just to save a little time there. On the final part of the quest is a defense mission, which is quite hard to do solo due to the enemy's high amount of shields and high amount of damage. So I recommend like toxin damage or magnetic damage, which is cold and electricity together. It's doable solo. However, I'd probably recommend a friend with either like frost or mag or something that like strips shields and allows you to do a lot of damage to these guys. And there's a reason that these guys are kind of hard, and that's because Samaris is trying to kill you, and you get to Ortis or whatever. But that's later in the quest. I didn't mean to spoil that, but oh well. I'd recommend doing this, yeah, with a friend from recruiting chat. Completing this will give you access to chroma parts in later junctions. All right, and then we get to Jupiter, and now we have to fight Alad V, who's the boss. There's two different ways of killing him. Method 1 would be to use brute force, which is basically how most people kill him right now. Which basically what they do is since Zanuka has a very high amount of shields, killing Alad V will remove Zanuka's shield, and you can damage Zanuka during this part. This will also, remove Zanuka's shield as well. And Zanuka will often try to revive Alad V once he is down, and you basically shoot him within that time. And he'll probably die. Most veterans do that just because of the raw amount of damage they put out. Now, there's the method 2, which is going to be easier for new players. All you have to do in the first phase is remove Alad V's shields. That's all you got to do. So if you're using toxin damage, it's probably a bad idea to do this, because toxin damage ignores shields. So we'll probably recommend magnetic damage against Alad V to remove those shields a lot faster. And once his shield is gone, it stays gone. And also, Zanuka's shield will also be gone once Alad V's shield is gone. In that time, you kill Zanuka, because those shields are permanently gone. After you kill Zanuka, you just kill Alad V, and the fight's over, because he can't get revived. Alright. After that, we hit the Saturn Junction, and we fight the Ember boss. She doesn't do anything noteworthy as long as you keep her stunned, like the other junction bosses, so don't worry about that. Now, if you encounter Forward on any of these boss nodes, Forward is he's a like invasion boss, and he drops Nyx parts, which is the psychic Warframe that does a lot of crowd control, a lot of great crowd control. And has an interesting fourth ability that allows her to absorb a lot of damage and become invulnerable to damage and then release it back out. But yeah, so Forward is a large charger enemy because his model hasn't been updated ever. His Spine Strike, which sort of sounds like Ember's Fireball, will one-shot you. So if you hear something that sounds like Ember's Fireball, which sounds like this, you just want to run. Get out of there. So you don't want to really attack him from close range at all, because he'll just mess you up. He has a very high amount of HP, and he also has armor. You can remove this armor if you're using mag, but it's still a lot of health to get through. His Shriek attack, which is the attack that makes your screen go all blurry, that's completely unavoidable, so don't even try to hide from that. The only way to like lessen that is just to kill him immediately, which a lot of veteran players can do because of the sheer amount of damage. Since Forward really doesn't have anything defensive going for him at all. And he also has a high chance to drop the Stretch mod, an unbroken version of the Stretch mod that we've gotten from the tutorial. So that is very, very good, and I'd probably recommend farming him until you get that mod. On Saturn, we hit the boss. That is Sargas Rock. He drops Ember parts, just like the Junction boss suggests. He is another if this then that boss, so he's immune to damage. However, if you shoot the little glowing white vents, you basically have to shoot, those will hurt him. Shoot the white glowing vents to hurt him. He has 3 different weak spots with the vents, so on his arm, the first one, and then once you break that one off, there's a chest, and then you break that one off, and then there's one on his back, and then he dies. Basically, you have to shoot those 3 weak points when they pop up. Other than that, he's fairly easy boss, and he does switch attacks every time you break a weak spot of his, so good to note. Also, his fireball attack does a very, very high amount of damage. It's very, very slow moving, but you definitely want to get the hell away from that as much as possible. Now, if you hit Master Rank 3, like I said, the Master Rank 3 test, and I said in previous videos, was you know, just melee enemies until they die, essentially. That's all they really are. In 3 different waves within the allotted amount of time, and then you'll become Master Rank 3, and there's nothing important there in that reward there. At Master Rank 3, you have access to syndicates, and syndicates are like sort of like the gangs in Warframe, but they give you certain different rewards, and you can be aligned with 3 of them. You can actually be aligned with 4 of them, but it's a lot of tedious work to do 4 of them, especially when you have to balance out certain things, and it's just a good idea to stay with 3. You either go with the right 3 or the left 3, and the ones you guys will be going for are the New Loka and Red Veil. So New Loka is going to give us those augments I talked about from the first episode, and Red Veil is going to have augments for Ash, and New Loka also has augments for Mag as well. So that's going to be very, very good. On top of that, we have some access to some pretty decent syndicate weapons later on down the road. There's also other syndicates like the Steel Meridian, the Grenier Syndicate, the Arbiters of Hexus. They're sort of like these almost Tenno worshippers, I want to say. But they want to like basically lead the Tenno down a righteous path or whatever. And then there's the Cephalon Suda, and Cephalon Suda has like, she's a Cephalon, she's like the knowledge syndicate. And then we have, you know, New Loka, they want to restore humanity. Parent Sequence, they're like anti-Corpus, but they're also Corpus at the same time. I don't understand what the hell is going on there, but you'll actually have to do a lot of quests through the leader of the Parent Sequence. And we're gonna since we're allied with New Loka, we're actually gonna passively gain rep for him as well, so that's gonna be good. And also finally we have Red Veil, which are the group of assassins in Warframe, and they have access to some pretty neat stuff, especially and stuff that's really good for stealth play. Now the way you gain rep for syndicates is you equip the sigil that they give you at initiation. Now you can only have 1 sigil at a time. You can't have 2 and level up 2 factions at the same time, although that would be pretty amazing if you could. You just can't do it that way, and that's just the way it is. And I assume things would get more complicated if that was the case. So yeah, you just go in. Yeah. Now how you do it is go into appearance, you go to regalia, and you just scroll down through your sigils, and you equipped it front or back. Now, often I have this, you can resize it, you can flip it over if you want. And often what I do is I change the alpha color to a dark color, or I change the color to like a dark color, and I turn down the alpha so it's not very visible and doesn't like hurt my fashion frame. But for now, I'm just going to leave it default. However, if you do hit Mastery Rank 4 within this time, you're technically ahead of the ball game, but that's actually okay. The Mastery Rank 4 test is just to survive. You don't even have to kill the enemies. You can just run them in a circle if you really want. There's a bunch of infested that spawn, sort of like zombies, but that's totally fine. Alright, so with this next junction, it'll make you craft like a weapon that's Mastery Rank 1 or higher. I would highly suggest you craft the Adorax at this time, or the Paris Prime if you have the pieces from getting, you know, doing enough Void Relics missions, or you did some trading. Other than that, Adorax is the way to go. Adorax is a very, very strong weapon, very strong melee weapon, especially in the end game. It hurts. It absolutely decimates enemies. You're gonna red crit. It does a lot of bleed. It has a high status chance, high crit chance, so it's really gonna do a significant amount of damage throughout your journey in Warframe. Alright, now that we hit Uranus, we reached the Equinox boss. So let's hit the Uranus Junction. Equinox boss has high shields but low health, so if you use toxin damage, she just dies. You could also just use magnetic damage as well, and that will save you a lot of time as well, but since toxic damage completely ignores shields, it's better to just use that. Something to note on the Neptune Junction when you reach Uranus, you know, there's a challenge that says, you know, find 3 sabotage caches within a sabotage mission. You do not need to find all 3 of those in the same mission, however. Do one at a time, just find one, and then just do the sabotage, then leave. Otherwise, the caches are really, really hard to find. There are some videos out there on YouTube that that show you where all the locations are, but these are really, really hard to find sabotage caches, so just finding one is totally fine and getting out. Also, something to note about Uranus is there's 3 different ways to get to the boss here. There's the top path, the bottom path, and the middle path. Do not take the middle path because it's literally riddled with cancer. as far as those mission types go, because running spy missions, and the spy mission is kind of difficult in this tile set. However, I will show you how to do these, as well as the defense mission is absolutely cancer, and you'll have to do it later in the upcoming Nata quest, which I'll talk about in a second. But just don't bother with the middle path for now, because you'll have to basically travel through that like halfway through back of eventually. So don't worry about that. And once you hit the boss, it'll unlock like 2 of those middle nodes. The bottom path gives you access to a very good plastids and polymer bundle farm. The top path gives you a decent arcing mission for XP. However, it's not the best. The next plan over actually gives us the best Arcwing XP farm. So if you're looking for Arcwing XP that's actually like sort of fun, then I'd probably recommend that interception here on Uranus. For the first vault, you're gonna want to go either right or left. However, I ended up taking the left path because it's a tiny bit easier. And what you want to do is go in the water here. What you're gonna end up doing is there's a bunch of fans that'll try to push you either out of the map, or they'll push you into sensor grades, and then they'll trigger the alarms if you hit any of them. So what you want to do is, there are a couple switches on the fans. You want to destroy them to the next one, and the fans will sort of lead you to the objective, so don't worry about getting lost here. Some of the switches aren't directly on the fan themselves, rather they're on the wall next to them, so definitely want to be aware of that too. Alright, at the very end of the path you should see the final fan, and then you should see like a way up. Take that way up after you destroy the fan. This will put you right into the vault. Just hack your way into the vault and hack the vault, and then you're done with the first vault. For the second vault, we hack our way in, and then we drop down. Now this vault is a tiny bit tricky. There are 3 floors here, and there's a bunch of regulators guarding this door. So what we're looking for is a tiny little door near the top part. And the top part has like a little laser sensor grid that will knock you down if you touch it, and as well as trigger the alarms. So we're looking for a tiny little door near that. And we also have to avoid the regulators because they have a very large field of view, and so much as like stepping into a line of sight will trigger the alarms, and the vault will go into lockdown. And play it safe in this vault. Alright, so once you find this door, once the sensor grid goes away, you parkour your way up to the top, and you head to the top of the vault. After done parkouring your way up to the top, you have a straight path to the vault. However, there are 2 guards up here. One is directly in front of the vault, and there's another one on the turret, or near the turret. So what we're gonna have to do is kill both of these guards real fast. While the other guard is shooting in my magnetized bubble, I go ahead and hack the vault. And this was a pretty close call here. However, we made it out okay, and we are all good to go to the next vault. So this next vault is pretty easy to get lost in. So what you gotta do is go down the stairs here. I know there's gonna be like 2 guards here. In my case, there are 2 heavy gunners, and you wanna go down the water. There's a certain path you wanna take. So go ahead and follow the path I take. And you want to go ahead and destroy the fans here. What we sort of have to do is get on the other side. But instead of going up here, which will lead to like a very empty loot room, what you want to have to do is go across the water and then destroy the fans, which will lead you to the vault. And in the vault, there are actually going to be 2 guards there. And you can actually sneak by the guards and just hack the vault, and while they don't notice. However, I think killing one of them is a pretty safe bet if you're not running the sortie version of this mission. After that, you hack the vault, and you are all done with all the vaults in the Uranus spy mission. Now we start the Nata quest. Now the Nata quest gives us insight on Lotus's backstory and tells us her real name, and shows us her father. So bring codex scanners. You cannot actually start this mission without codex scanners. So you got to bring them. And the first thing you want to do in part 1 is scan the giant part here, the old war wreckage here. I don't believe she tells you where it is, but I'll just show you and what it looks like. It took me a while, but it's kind of big, and once you put your user scanner, it's kind of hard to miss. But all right. So in the survival part of the quest, which is like the 3rd part, if you are farming Ash and you're missing like a final piece to him, because you did your 2 Man a few words quests to farm those manics. This is where you can run into a third manic. He's guaranteed to spawn, and he's not going to spawn in with a G3 again like was in the Clem quest. So don't worry about him. And he's about the same level too, so he's about easy to beat. And he does indeed drop ash parts, just like the other ones. Otherwise, you can go to Draco and farm manics there, although be it inconsistently. You have to wait like a good 15-20 minutes for them to even spawn in, if they do spawn in. Now, the final mission in this quest is absolutely cancer. So it is a defense mission. Like I said, don't go down the middle path because you got to do this eventually. Do this later, so you only really need to do this once. But the defense mission, instead of having one defense point, it has 4. And the thing is, there's little to no warning about transitioning, because you transition from one point to the other, and the only real indicator is your mini-map on which point you need to defend. So I can imagine doing endless runs on that mission might be really, really hard, and farming there is going to be super annoying. So I wouldn't even bother like doing that. It's really, really annoying. And when the wave is clear, the defense point will always change. It will never stay the same after every single wave. Every single wave, yeah, it changes. Now you're done with the Nata quest. Tao Regor, he's the boss on Uranus. You're obviously gonna fight him now. Ideally, if you want to go like in chronological order to the story of the Nata quest, you'd fight him after you finish this quest. But I beat him before, so that's totally fine. But just something to heads up about. Now, Tao Regor, he has kind of low health for a boss. He has a little bit of armor, but what he has is he has very, very fast regenerating shields. So it's a good idea to use toxin or magnetic damage, or both on him, to really burn him down. Don't get close. Do not get close to him at all, because every single melee attack he does will stagger you, and there's also a high chance that one of his melee attacks will proc bleed, and that does a lot of damage. So that will most likely kill you in this phase of the game. He has 3 phases, which basically the first phase you just fight him normally until he gets to like 2/3 health. But be aware that he can teleport basically like all over the place, sort of like a manic would. That's why I'm saying like his very fast regenerating shields are sort of a problem. So, yeah, and then you just fight him normally. You don't fight with any, like, and then once he gets down to 2/3 health, they'll spawn in manics that will attack you. And once you finish off, like, the manics, like, you get to the second to last manic, he'll reappear, and then you fight him again. And then he'll once he gets down to, like, about 1/3 health or something around those lines, he'll flood the place, and you have to get the high ground. If you get stuck in the water will basically electrocute you and do quite a bit of damage to you. So you definitely want to not be in the water when it starts to flood. So when Tao Regor gets onto that high ground, that's when you want to start moving up there as well. He'll spawn like a manic bombard and one more manic again. Once the manic bombard is low on health or he's dead, Tao Regor will reappear and he'll fight you again for one last time. And then once you kill him, the fight is over. Now he drops Equinox parts, and there's about 8 Equinox parts in total. So farming him is sort of a pain. So it's probably a good idea to fight him on with the public on. So you can get more people into your group that way, and it will be a lot faster. It's not really a problem in a group. Fighting him in a group is not really a problem. However, fighting him solo might be a little tricky, especially in this early phase of the game. So yeah, just a heads up about Tao Regor. Now I'm going to have an episode about gearing up, and then we're going to basically go to the final quests, the story quests of basically what the story is right now. So anyway, guys. You guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.